I spent my 25th birthday alone. No party, no friends, just me, a grocery store cake, and the quiet hum of vacuum cleaners on the executive floor. Then, the CEO walked in and ate half of it. You'd think that would be the worst birthday gift ever, but somehow, it became the best one I never asked for. This is the story of how a stolen piece of cake changed everything. Zoe Lucas had been invisible her entire life. Not literally, of course, but functionally. In high school, she was the quiet girl in the back. In college, which she'd left after one semester when her mother got sick, she was the dropout. And now, at 25, she was the cleaning lady. The person executives walked past without seeing. The person whose dreams of opening a warm community cafe seemed impossibly far from her reality of mopping floors and emptying trash bins. Today was her birthday, and she'd be spending it exactly like she spent every other day, alone. Most people imagine CEOs living glamorous lives, parties, galas, constant companionship. But Dominic Logan's penthouse had 32 rooms and not a single person who actually knew him. His friends were strategic contacts. His relationships were networking opportunities. His ex-fiancée had loved his last name more than his first. Success had given him everything, except the one thing Zoe understood intimately: genuine human connection. Tonight, they were both alone, and fate was about to make that a little less true. Here's the thing about loneliness. It makes you do strange things. Dominic Logan hadn't eaten grocery store cake in 15 years. He hadn't sat in a break room with fluorescent lights in longer. But standing there, looking at a woman who'd bought herself a birthday cake to eat alone, he made an impulsive choice, the kind of choice that only makes sense when you're desperate for something real. And just like that, a CEO and a cleaning worker sat in a fluorescent-lit break room, eating cheap cake, and admitted something neither had said out loud in years. We're lonely. Not in the dramatic, cinematic way, but in the real, everyday way. The kind of lonely where your birthday passes and nobody notices. Where success means nothing because you have no one to share it with. Where you're surrounded by people and still utterly alone. For 20 minutes, they talked about nothing and everything. About the pressure of being visible and the pain of being invisible. And when Dominic finally left that break room, half the cake was gone. But for the first time in months, neither of them felt quite so alone. By 10 a.m., the video had circulated through every department. By noon, the speculation was rampant. The CEO and the cleaning lady. People love a scandal. They love it even more when it crosses social boundaries. Nobody believed it was just cake and conversation, because in their world, CEOs don't eat cake with janitors unless there's a reason. And the reasons they imagined were far more interesting than the truth. Dominic had spent his entire career carefully managing his image. Never a scandal, never a misstep. His board, his investors, his ex, they all expected him to exist within very specific boundaries. To date the right people, to be seen in the right places, to never, ever sit in a break room with someone beneath his station. But here's what they didn't understand. Dominic was tired of performing, tired of living in a world where every interaction was transactional. And the woman everyone was gossiping about? She was the first person in years who'd seen him as just a person. He wasn't about to apologize for that. This is where most stories would have them fall into each other's arms. A dramatic declaration, a kiss in the supply closet. But real connection doesn't work that way. It's messier. More hesitant. It's two lonely people standing in a closet full of cleaning supplies, trying to figure out if what they felt was real or just the desperation of isolation. Shifts from gentle to tense. And just when something real was forming, the world came crashing back in. Because stories like this don't happen in supply closets. They happen in public. And the public was about to demand an explanation. This was the moment. The public test. In his world, image is everything. Sophia represented the approved choice, wealthy, connected, appropriate. Defending Zoe meant choosing against expectation. Against his class. Against everything he'd been trained to protect. Most men would have smoothed it over, made excuses, protected their reputation. Dominic Logan did something different. Dominic Logan had just done something no CEO should do. He'd chosen heart over image, a cleaning worker over his ex-fiancée, authenticity over approval. The board would have questions. Investors would raise eyebrows. But walking out of that building with Zoe's hand in his, Dominic realized something he should have known years ago. Being powerful means nothing if you can't choose who you want beside you. This is the question that matters. Not what's expected, not what makes sense, but what do two lonely people, who found each other in the most unlikely way, actually want? Zoe opened her cafe. Dominic helped, not with a massive corporate investment, but with his time, his hands, his presence. He showed up, not as the CEO, just as Dominic. Someone who'd learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or square footage or board seats. It's measured in moments like this. In coffee shared with someone who sees you. In laughter that isn't performed. In the quiet knowledge that you're not alone anymore. They didn't have a fairy tale ending. They had something better, something real. And it started with a stolen piece of grocery store cake. If this story feels good for you, like, comment, and subscribe.